Hello, 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 worthy women. Today is indeed Worthy Wednesday. First of all, you guys, shout out to me for being on time this week. Um, in Oregon, we are on Pacific Standard Time, so it's only 5 o'clock here, but it's 6 o'clock in Arizona, and that is the time zone that I started Worthy Women in. So I do my best to uphold that because it's easier for me to make the adjustment than it is for all of the women in our community to make the adjustment. But anyway, y'all, I usually know when Worthy Wednesday is approaching, like tonight after this, I'll be like, oh my gosh, only have a few more days. It'll be Worthy Wednesday again. But today, I was like, is it Worthy Wednesday? I was like, it is, isn't it? I was like, Worthy Wednesday. So anyway, I am so happy to be with you tonight on Worthy Wednesday. Now, welcome to February. In February, the nation acknowledges and celebrates Black history, all of the contributions of people who look like me that have done phenomenal things for the advancement of education, technology, science, and so I am so grateful for that. Now, also in February, we celebrate Saint Valentine's Day, which some people love it, some people hate it. I mean, but listen, I'm not really celebrating it because of that. I'm celebrating it because we actually acknowledge love, which is so important. So I love love. It's great and it's fun. Anyway, tonight I want to talk about something that is, well, I really thought that I was going to get away from talking about me, but I really feel like it is the mission for 2021 to really get to know who you are as a worthy woman and really dissect what it is in your life that has caused you to either be successful or not so successful at times because of choices that we have made. So I have determined long before now, like I told y'all in January, that 2021 would be the year of me. And when I say me, y'all know I'm talking about me, not you. But I'm talking about me, so nobody has to know that you're talking about you when I'm talking about me. So in January, we talked about what about me? What about hurt me? Can you see me? Which by far was one of my favorites because every time I get in my car, I think about the windshield. And last week we talked about why me. So I actually felt like I didn't have anything else to say about me because I'm like, how many more weeks of my life can I talk about me and actually have it be a right now word, not just for me, but for everyone who hears it. So I decided, well, maybe I have like just 2 or 3 more things that I want to say about me. And then I realized I probably have about 60 more things I want to say. So I want to start out talking about self-care. Now that's really a buzz term that people use, and the way that it's defined by our culture is self-care is when you get a luxury car, when you go to a luxury hotel, when you go to the spa, when you get to take solo vacations. That means you go without your husband and your children. Yes and amen to that. When you get lavish gifts. Self-care really is about turning the attention off of others and placing all of that same time, energy, and effort back to me. Well, listen, since we're talking about me and not you for 2021, I thought, of course, self-care is important because it's exactly what I need to be doing in order to be more effective in my life. But I felt like self-care wasn't really it. You know, I was like, I don't really feel like that's it. So then I decided for February, what better thing to talk about me than about asking the question, do you love me? And before I ask you, do you love me? The question I really want to ask you is, do I love me? And worthy women, I think love, number one, is by far one of the greatest gifts that God has given to people on the planet. to love others, to love God, to love themselves, to love in a way that changes the course of everything. But I feel like there is a part of me that struggles with loving myself and loving myself in a way that helps me become the best me that I can be. So I want to talk about loving me. Do you love me? I mean, do you love me? Because I love me. And it made me think of this little video that I watched. This little girl was saying to her daddy over and over, do you love me? Do you love me? And he was like, yes, yes. Do you love me? Yeah. And she kept saying it over and over and over and over. And then she got upset and she was like, you love me. And she was probably maybe 2. And he opened his eyes and he was like, yes. And so then she slapped his cheek. Oh my gosh, it was the funniest thing. But I thought to myself, how appropriate for that little girl to keep asking her daddy, do you love me? And even though he kept affirming her by saying yes, she wasn't satisfied with that answer. So we're going to talk about love tonight. So love is one of the most used and abused words in the human language. Love at one time was a symbol of those who were in a relationship, whether that's with your spouse or with people in your family, that stood the test of time. Love is what a mother experiences after they give birth to their child. Love is when you looked into your spouse's eyes and you knew that was the person you wanted to be with for the rest of your life. Love is when no circumstance seemed insurmountable because of the people that you had in your life. That's what love means to me. But then love and its image shifted. Now, the beauty of talking about me is you don't have to worry about what I'm saying because it's about me, it's not about you. But love somehow became other things. It became a big house, a big car, big money. Love sometimes became physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse. Sometimes love becomes manipulation, control, power, pride. And this once beautiful gift destroys things. And I had a hard time wrapping my mind around loving me or loving something or loving someone else could potentially destroy who I believed I am or was at that time in my life. And then I said, well, what kind of love have I received from the people that matter the most to me in my life, from the people that I work with, from my students when I was a teacher, from my family, from my significant other? What kind of love have I received? Because what I've discovered in my brief time on the earth is that I have defined love by how it has been given to me. And so then I asked myself, well, Carrie, what kind of love have you given? Okay, well, first I wanted to slap myself and roll my eyes because I'm like, what do you mean? I've given the best kind of love that there is. When you're talking about me, I love you. I'm going to bat for you. I'm taking everything that you need. I am making sure that I am loving you the best way that I know how. But what is love truly, honestly, purely? And do I love me? I find it so interesting that we spend most of our adult life loving other people, loving other things, loving other passions and gifts and jobs and all those things. But we rarely spend any time loving ourselves. And well, when you don't love yourself, it's really hard to love others because you're trying to give from a vessel that's empty. I don't know. I mean, maybe mothers do it all the time. And so we make the excuse that we don't have time to take care of ourselves and we don't have time to do these things because we have to keep doing for everybody else. But I wonder if that's just an excuse that we have made as women, that because of my responsibilities, or I wonder if men have also made that excuse because they are the provider, they are the protector, that they don't really have time to love themselves. So love, we need it, we want it, we crave it. But what I've discovered about me, not you, is that very rarely do I live it. So I went to the dictionary, of course, because it is my absolutely favorite thing to do. And I discovered that love is a noun, which means it can be the main thing at one time or the other, which is true. But I also discovered that love is a verb, which I know we know that, okay? And because love is a verb means that you've got to show me some action, whether that's directly, meaning I'm getting it right now, or indirectly, that because of the actions that you have done, I am now experiencing love from you. But there were so many definitions of love in the dictionary. I was really taken aback by it because I felt like, why are there so many definitions for this word? I mean, either you do it or you don't. I really feel like there are no gray areas. When you are loving honestly and purely and truly, there's no gray with that. Either you're loving me, okay? Because I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. Or I'm not. Okay, so I found all of these definitions in the dictionary. All of these words that the scholars who put together the dictionary to define love were actually words that I had to go back and redefine to make sure I understood the meaning, because I was like, man, look, if we're not careful, loving me can be really complicated, which is exactly the reason why most of us don't love ourselves. Because in order to love me, you've got to know all of me. The good parts, the not so good parts, the scared parts, the hurt parts, the disappointed parts, even sometimes the angry parts of me. And I discovered that love requires a lot of me recognizing who I am and what exactly it is I need to deal with about me. Boy, aren't you glad, worthy women, this is really about me and not you? Because if you have to examine yourself, just imagine how much different your life would be if you examined me too. So, the verb definition. Here's the verb definition. Number 1, to hold dear or cherish. To feel or experience a lover's passion, devotion, and tenderness. To like or desire. To thrive in. So I was looking at all these definitions of love, and I thought, yeah, I don't do any of that. I don't do any of that for me. I don't hold myself dear. I certainly don't cherish myself. I haven't experienced the way that it says I should have experienced what love is from another person. I don't know if I like or desire certain things actively, and I'm not really sure if I've ever thrived in love. So I thought, okay, this is going to be an easy lesson for me, cut and dry, because it's obvious that I do love myself, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do. So then I said to myself, well, where and how do I love me? Because honestly, worthy women, if you really want to talk about it, that's the question you need to ask yourself. How do I love me? Where in my life is it evident that I have loved myself? So the definition I want to focus on tonight is to hold dear, which means I value it, it's precious, and it's worth. And it also says to cherish. So cherish means to hold, feel, or show affection, to keep or cultivate with care and affection. So to hold something dear means I am going to cultivate it, which means to foster the growth of something with care and affection. So I found it interesting in this definition that I realized tonight that when I say, do I love me? Or when I'm asking someone else, do you love me? What I'm asking them is, have you helped to foster growth in me? Okay, well, I just I just want to tell you right now, I threw my pen down because I was like, wait, what? I had to seriously take a moment and reflect on all of the relationships that I've been in. And I had to ask myself, Kari, while you were in that relationship, seeking that validation and seeking that love from somebody else, at any time did you stop to think if you have cultivated, which means to foster the growth, love in that person? Had I done for them what I was asking them to do for me? Well, can I just tell you the truth? The answer is no, bro. Come on. I mean, if I was already doing that, I wouldn't need to talk to y'all about any of this stuff because, hello, I would literally be perfect. But since I'm not, I'm not ever. I sat there thinking, how many times have I blamed them for not cultivating, not fostering the growth in me, not holding me dear, not valuing me, not making me precious, not showing and talking about my worth? How many times have I blamed them for their lack of love for me, when in reality, I lack all those things for myself? So when I say to them, do you love me? What I'm really saying is, have I cultivated growth of love for you? Have I held you dear? Have I cherished you? Have I valued you? Have you experienced being precious to me? Have you experienced worth? Because that's what I'm saying when I say, I love you. But what got me is that we're asking other people to do that for us. I'm saying to somebody else, can you hold me valued? Can you make sure I feel precious? Can you establish my worth? Can you cultivate growth in me? Y'all, how are we asking other people to do something that they can't do? Y'all, can't no relationship make you understand your God-given worth. There is no man on the planet. Listen, there are some good ones out here, but he doesn't have the power to love you the way that you need to understand you're already loved completely and wholly, and you're already precious and valuable. And okay. Tonight, I literally had a revelation about me. That how much of my life have I spent looking for other things, other people, other jobs, other situations to give love to me, and they can't. They can't. The reason why I'm not, I don't like so and so because of what they did, and I don't like Brother Cucumber because of what he did, and I don't want to work at this job because these people are jerks. And then I thought to myself, has it really been other people? Or has it been a question of me knowing how to love me? Has it been me looking for other people to love me, but I don't love me? Okay. So I said, when you love me, it is a process that constantly changing. And this is the revelation that I received, that loving me is first experienced, then taught. So let me give you an example so you understand. When children are born, when children go to school, kindergarten all the way until they graduate, children experience love. They experience love from their teacher, from the principals, from the counselors, from their friends. They actually get to live in that place where they are experiencing people who hold them dear, that value them, that show them and teach them that they are precious, that give them their worth. They cultivate them to show growth in those children so they become older and then they become young adults. So children first experience love. And then Once those children have experienced love, they begin to teach that experience to others. But it's not the teaching to others that's the most critical. It's the teaching it to themselves. Let me give you an example. I had a teacher in 5th grade. Her name was Miss Debbie Jones, by far one of my most favorite teachers. She allowed us to be teacher for a day. That was part of our, it was by far one of the most epic assignments ever. I freaking love it. And so we were actually assigned to teach a part of our history class, but we got to be the teacher for the day. We got to sit up at the desk. We got to be called, I was Miss Copeland, so we got to be called Miss Copeland. Like, the kids had to raise their hand. They had to call me, all that stuff. In that situation, I experienced worth, value, and I felt precious. I also cultivated something in me that I didn't know that was already in me, which was a love for teaching. Now, not necessarily children, but I love to teach anything. It doesn't matter what it is. I thrive on learning things, and then I thrive more teaching it to somebody else and they pick it up. So Miss Jones cultivated that growth in me, and that was such a phenomenal experience of love. Now, she didn't know that that's what she was doing. I mean, she didn't walk around saying, hey, I'm going to teach y'all this. I'm going to let you get to be teacher for the day, and you're going to experience love. And then you're going to go teach that to somebody else. And I have been teaching that for years, even after that experience. But it was because I experienced that I began to teach that same experience to others, my peers first, my sibling. And then as I became older and actually became a teacher, I then used that same method to teach that love to my students. Y'all, although I felt like that was amazing, I kept saying, well, how did I relay that experience to love me? So remember, love is a process that constantly changes. Loving me is first experienced, then taught. So here's the beauty of love, okay? When you experience it, you know. You can attest to, at the very moment that someone has given you value, or they've given worth, or they've cultivated something in you, you come alive immediately. It's funny how the Lord actually made that happen in our lives, in our brains, in our hearts, that we experience the best part of love when someone does something that causes us to grow. That means we leave behind what we once knew and did, and we have now changed to a new part of loving ourselves and growing because of that experience. So after that experience with Miss Jones, like low key, I felt like I wanted to be a teacher, but I still wanted to be a lawyer, so it didn't matter, okay? But I always said to myself, if I go to law school or whatever, because I was only in 5th grade, I was like, I'm going to use this as an example. So the question is, how did I love me after that experience? So I said, to hold dear. Did I hold myself dear after that? Absolutely, because I thought I was the bomb, boy. I was like, ooh, I killed this lesson, boy. The kids were like, oh my God, Miss Copeland, that was such a good lesson. Now, y'all know we were all in the same grade, so it's not like, they had to call me Miss Copeland forever, but to see all of my classmates like, ooh, that was so good. I was like, yes, I held myself in a place that allowed me to come alive. So I felt like I had done that, right? And then I said to myself, is that how I see myself? The way that my classmates looked at me, believed in me, hoped in me. Let me just say it plain. How they cultivated. They brought me from one place in my life to a new experience. It changed me. That experience changed me. But then I said, did it change me enough to the place that I would now love myself? Because that's the problem with everything that goes on in your own life. If you're in a relationship and the relationship doesn't work, now listen, it could be something that happened outside of your control. I'm okay with that, because I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about the things you control, and the things you control. What I mean by that is you. Okay. So when I am in a relationship, I can't control what somebody else does. I can only control what I do. But that's not how we teach it. That's not how we experience it. See, you have to realize that when you get into a relationship, the way that you have experienced love is the way you teach that person you love them. Y'all, listen to me, right? I am telling you, this is why I'm talking about me right now in 2021, because there are some things that I have learned by exploring what does it really mean to love me. See, this is what happens. We get like on a soapbox, and this is why society and culture is terrible for this. We make it seem like if there's a breakup or if there's a disagreement in a relationship, it's polarized. It's either the girl or it's the boy. It couldn't have been a combination of both of them. But what I am discovering, what I'm really discovering about me, because this is about me, it's not about you, is that 9 times out of 10, the problem in the relationship could have been a viable problem. Now, if it's adultery or what, okay, that's a viable problem. It ain't got nothing to do with me. That's you. You made the wrong choice and you have to go. But I'm saying if the problem is money, if the problem is communication, if the problem is trust, if the problem is manipulation, if the problem is control, the question I'm asking myself now is that how I love myself? Do I manipulate me? Do I try to control me? Do I try to devalue me? Do I try to persuade me that what's happening is acceptable? Do I make excuses for me, but not for somebody else? Because see, love, this is what I learned tonight. Love is a process that constantly changes. When you love your children, you don't love them the same way you did when they were 3 months. At 3 months, you weren't sleeping at nighttime. But when they're 10 and they're sleeping all night, you love them a little bit more because you're like, thanks be to God, I can sleep all night. When they're 18, you don't love them the same way you did when they were 10 because now they're older and they're walking into adulthood. So love is a process. Loving me, loving them is a process that constantly change. Loving me is first experience. So what have I experienced? When I was 10, did I have a good experience when I was 10? Did I feel loved? Did I feel valued? Did I feel cultivated to grow? If I did, then that's what I've taught my daughter. But if I didn't, I've taught her the love that I experienced. See, sometimes I feel like we don't even think about what we're passing down generationally to our children, to our nieces and nephews, even to our siblings as adults. Just because we grew up in one environment, does that mean the way that we continue to love me and the way that I continue to love you is what we did then? Absolutely not, because loving me is a process that constantly changes. I have to have first an experience. So if the experience I had was yelling and screaming and fighting and physical and mental and emotional abuse, y'all, why do we want to love people that way still? Why don't we want to love them the way that we want to experience love? I am trying to figure out in my quest to become all that I have been ordained to be, why is loving me by far the hardest task I have ever faced? Why is it that I have a difficulty in changing an experience that I had when I was growing up, or that I had while I was an adult, in a relationship, at a job, in a church? Why is it that I haven't made a decision to change that experience? And I learned it from Miss Jones in 5th grade. Because see, what I have experienced, I have decided in my mind quietly, nobody knows. And don't worry, this is about me, it's not about you. But what I decided in that moment is that I am now the master and the other person is now the student. And what happens when you decide that you are now above that person, that thing, that relationship, that job, that circumstance, when you decide that you are now above that, what you teach them is what you want to get from them. y'all, let me give you a real life example. I love to be in control. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Actually, I'm not. I do not like anything or anyone that tries to defy what I know or my belief or my authority. If I am rightfully in my place, see, the key word there is rightfully. So I'll come back to that in just a minute. But if I am rightfully in the place that I am authorized, that's also a key word, I'll come back to that, to be in, then I have no problem being in control of a situation. But it's in situations where I am properly not authorized to be there, nor do I have the authority to be in that place, that I find myself getting in trouble about love and the experience that I then begin to teach other people. Because see, when I believe that the love that I've experienced from someone else has caused them to rise above me, and now they treat me with contempt and they don't do right by me, what I look to do is to figure out how I can now beat them by using the term love. So when I was in Miss Jones's class, I was like, oh yes, everyone is listening to me. Everyone is paying attention to me. I love myself. See, I loved myself because of that experience, right? I felt like, oh, my value, my worth. I was cherished and honored and valued and precious. But y'all, didn't y'all know I was that before I did that experiment? Come on. Don't you know that before you get into a relationship with somebody, you're already valuable, you're already worthy, you're already irreplaceable? Like, see, we think that once we enter into a relationship that person then defines who we are. No. You came to the table whole. Okay. See, but maybe you didn't come to the table whole, because sometimes as women, we make that mistake. We go from one thing to the next thing and we don't ever heal from what happened to us before. So we take that damage and then go to a new place and then we're damaged again. And instead of us stepping back because we think we're okay, not you. I think I'm superwoman, that I don't have time to waste dealing with that experience. But what I keep forgetting is that loving me is a process, and that process constantly changes. So it is first what I have experienced, and then loving me becomes what I teach someone else to do. So I said to myself, this is a problem for me because I'm guilty of that. When you are broken, when you are wounded, let me just cut that. When you are angry, okay? Because I'm just dealing real life. I normally don't have a problem with brokenness. Like I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being wounded. I'm okay with having to step back. And how I deal with that is anger. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about me. When I'm angry, you should not be in my way. Period. I can't say anything else that would not be appropriate. So I have taught, because of the experiences I've had in relationships with girlfriends, with men, with family, with business, I have taught other people to treat me with anger and contempt and mistrust and control. And then because it's me, I get mad because they're treating me the way I taught them. Y'all, literally, I just want to lay down, because I know y'all think this is crazy, but this is real. This stuff really happens all the time. But the question is, do you love me? See, we keep asking other people about something only I can answer. Nobody else can answer that for me. Corey, do you love me? Yes. I mean, because that's what we say. Yes, of course I love you. I love everything about you. I love how you are. I love that you're kind. I love that you're beautiful. And in reality, I really am not hearing that, because my experiences have taught me that no one cherishes me, that no one values me, that no one thinks I'm worthy, that no one believes that I'm precious, and no one has cultivated me to grow from one season of my life to the next. So here's the second question. The second part of the definition, it says to cultivate with care and affection, to foster the growth of. So I want to know, have I grown because of me loving me? Have I stopped growing because of the way that I love me? And then the question that kind of stung me more was, have I lost growth because of the way that I have loved me? See, let me tell you what we say in real life. We say that we have regrets. Y'all, it's not a regret. It is an experience that we have with ourselves, that we've taught ourselves in an area that we were wounded. We taught ourselves not to deal with that, because that's not loving yourself. What's loving yourself is manning up and getting over it. But as I'm getting older, I realize that is dumb. Don't tell me to man up and get up. Don't tell me that. Tell me to deal with it. Tell me to confront myself, because see, sometimes what we say is, well, it's what so-and-so did, so you need to go check them, girl, get them in check. Listen, I am guilty of saying it, and even more guilty of doing it. But what I'm not guilty of, and I should be, is checking me. Because see, when you're hurt, the experience that you have from someone who said that they loved you, what you teach them is what you're not going to do so you don't hurt me anymore. But did you deal with the hurt from that experience? No, we don't deal with it. We just keep piling hurt on top of hurt, on top of hurt, on top of hurt. And then we just keep saying, well, eventually it's going to get better. It'll be fine. I love me. I love me. And we go on some tangent like saying, I love me is cool. Y'all, loving yourself is cool, but not when you're not honest. Because I don't know if you, thank God this is about me, I literally have lied about saying I love me. Sometimes it's a lie. I haven't always loved me. And I've even taught myself how not to love me. Y'all, worthy women, I think if we can understand why 2021 is the year of me, because we've got to take time to deal with ourselves, not other people, not other relationships, not money, not finances, not relationships. Y'all, we need to deal with ourselves. If you're married right now and you are frustrated with your spouse, maybe it's you. Could be. Maybe the love that you have experienced and now the love that you've taught him to do to you is because of something left unchecked. So this is the last thing I want to say. It says, do you love me is a question that we ask when we don't love ourselves. I don't walk around saying to people, do you love me? Well, number one, because y'all know I don't say, listen, I'll say whatever. But I've never found myself asking someone, do you love me? Because I've learned if I have to say that out loud, what I'm really saying is, Carrie, do you love Carrie? Have you taken the time to deal with everything that has happened in your life? Have you taken the time, say it with me, worthy women, to do the work? Because we don't ask someone, do you love me, to really hear the answer, because they can't answer it. The only person that can really answer, do you love me, is me. So when I ask myself, do you love me? I need to work on the following things that I need to make sure that I'm asking myself wholly. That means WHOLLY. That means I have taken into account things that I have walked through, experiences that taught me how to love, experiences that taught me how to question, experiences that taught me doubt. Because not every experience teaches you something good about love. Not every experience. Some experiences teach you this is not what love should be. This is not how love performs. This is not how love acts. So I need to go back and say, am I whole from those experiences, rather than being broken me, teaching an experience? Because if I'm broken, I'm teaching broken, and I can only teach you how to be broken. So, worthy women, this month I really want to talk about loving me. So before I ask anyone else in my natural adult life, do you love me? I want to be able to stand flat-footed and look myself in the mirror and say, Carrie, I love you. Because it's when I'm able to say those words and know exactly what they mean and know that the experiences that I've had all growing up, even into my adult life, have shaped me in some way or form. But how I choose to teach love about myself and to teach others how to love me is a choice I have to make after those experiences. You're not going to miraculously love yourself tonight, okay? Can I just tell you that? Because some of us have spent years unloving ourselves. We've spent years living and breathing the lie of other things and other people and experiences. But what you can do tonight is stop saying to anyone else other than yourself, do you love me? And start saying to yourself, I love you. You are complete. You are whole. You are worthy. You are precious. And you are valuable. Not because I said, not because you said, but because the God of the universe created you that way the very first day you were born. Worthy women, I love you. InRealLife.com. And this month, we're going to learn how to love ourselves. Because in those moments, we are going to change the course of our families and all of those that we are in relationship with. Because loving me is a process that constantly changes. And when we embrace those changes and those experiences, we will then be teaching the next generation how to love me too. I can't wait to see y'all again. Happy Worthy Wednesday.